Before we start, I just want to remind you that if you have something to say, it's best if you finish the video first because I don't want to argue, so please be smart. Have you ever been scolded by your parents for being on your phone / on the internet too much? My mom never did because she's the one who uses her phone too much. She knows I would use that card against her and that would definitely piss her off. I get it, I don't want to be called a hypocrite either. But I want to say that they're now mostly right. Mostly because there are so many things to consider and not everything is black and white. And I suggest you think this way and not that way. It'll open up your brain more. I'm not saying I was born in the best generation, but it was definitely a decent timing for me to be born. The popularization of the internet hasn't started yet, meaning I got to have a childhood that wasn't filled with internet brain rots or have a staring contests with a screen for hours and hours. I was able to play with other kids and run around, causing me to get some permanent scars on my legs from tripping too much and doing reckless stunts. But the internet eventually caught up when my childhood hadn't even ended yet, which was pretty sad. My first introduction to the internet was Facebook. I don't know how old I was, but I wasn't even 10 years old yet. It was not me who made my account, it was probably my mother. I just played games there most of the time, bounced to Facebook and Free or even a Y8 or Kizzy. They were the classic websites for flash games if I'm speaking to the younger audience. My sibling and I used to play Fireboy and Water Girl while trying to find other multiplayer games to enjoy our screen times together. I don't know how long that was, but it wasn't enough for us to get consumed by the internet. My first few years of getting addicted to the internet consisted of YouTube, Facebook, Minecraft, Wattpad, and Musical.ly. On YouTube, I was mostly watching Jacksepticeye, Jesse V, Simply and Illogical, whatever, and a lot of people who cursed a lot. I also consumed a lot of paranormal stuff and those top 10 ghosts caught on camera. Facebook, I had a lot of school friends there, so it stayed relevant for a while. Minecraft, I used to play on random online servers I would find on the internet, and what a time to be alive. Whoever these motherfuckers, Honty MC, James Cheska, and fucking Jeff, I remember you. Wattpad, I guess this isn't really enough to get someone addicted to the internet, but I was. I was obsessed with reading self-insert fanfics. It's a little embarrassing, but it was really fun. Musical.ly, I never posted there. I just had an account to watch others. I did a lot of watching. Luckily, I wasn't very active where I would constantly comment on people's stuff and interact with thousands of people, which helped me prevent experiencing such things like grooming. I have only interacted with a few who are thankfully not creepy or a piece of shit enough to fuck me up. Now, I used to be one of those people who couldn't spend a day without a cell phone / internet, but as I got older, I didn't realize that is not a good thing at all. You're not supposed to be too reliant with your phone / internet when it comes to your happiness or satisfaction. You're not cool, you're fucked. People are starting to get more anxious, isolate themselves, worsen their sleep habits, shorten their attention span, and many more symptoms that people will search about and then diagnose themselves. People are so comfortable posting online about their mental illness, which may not be a bad idea because raising awareness about our mental health is important, but on the other hand, some people treat it as a trend and suddenly they have to share everything on the internet. It is sometimes genuinely tiring to hear some people blame their mental illnesses whenever they're being rude and disrespectful, and they expect people to tolerate them. You want everything to go your way, so you pull up your diagnosis and wave it around. And if people don't tolerate your shit, you accuse them of invalidating your mental illness. I know I'm sounding very dismissive right now, but you know exactly the kind of people I'm talking about. If you're somehow offended, then the shoe must fit. Everybody also is treating it as a competition, see who's more mentally ill. I've actually had a friend who kept saying they have ADHD and BPD every time I called him up for something. I totally understand it's not their fault and the fact that they sometimes can't afford their meds, but I don't want to be treated like shit and pretend it's a normal thing. Why do I always have to be the one who has to understand people? I'm not the most sane person in this world just because I don't have any papers to show, you know? I think posting online about how extremely depressed you are is very wrong. It is a call for help, but that's not what you do when you want help. Come with me to have a mental breakdown because of my severe depression while I'm in a yacht. And why is it that you always have to involve the internet with your life? Because you're an influencer, so you must post something for content. Please don't cry and film yourself and then post it on TikTok. I know you say you don't have enough money for therapy because me too, and being financially unstable is a common struggle in life. I'm in no position to tell you what you should do, but I can tell you there are other things you can do to help yourself even a little bit instead of letting everyone know what you're going through. While it's not a bad thing to ask for help because that's what you should do if you really can't handle it by yourself, preferably a professional, But I guess it's all up to you at the end of the day. Go outside, feel the sun, write down your feelings, appreciate nature, pet a cat or dog, stop doom scrolling, go for a jog, paint your nails, meet new people, try new hobbies, draw or paint. So many things to prevent you from being more miserable than you are now. You don't need to post everything on the internet. It's a personal problem. Have some self-respect. Another thing I've noticed is that people have gotten really fucking stupid. I'm not talking about academically. I don't mind you not knowing how to do long division or not knowing how many planets there are in the solar system. I'm talking about people who lack critical thinking skills, common sense, and basic human decency or courtesy. There, I search it all for you. People who just don't think, you know. Your brain exists for a reason. If you don't know something, you're supposed to search it up and find the answer. We're really lucky that we have access to know everything because of the internet, yet there are still people who just want to get spoon-fed information all the time and refuse to take advantage of web browsers. There's Google, Apple Safari, Firefox, and many more if you boycott any of those. But there's always someone who would rather comment on a random TikTok and ask for the meaning of something basic. I'm not worried about the person not knowing the basic thing. The problem is, people refuse to pick up a dictionary, and I know you're gonna say, we don't have one. And you know what? I'll let you figure that out yourself. I remember in high school, we needed to do a big project. I asked that one person who hasn't been any help at all to cut some papers because we needed to turn them into flowers or something. He goes, but I don't have scissors. Then fucking borrow one from someone. I didn't curse at him, but in my head, I shot myself. Are you allergic to thinking? That shit's not even rocket science. One more thing I've noticed is that people are so much more awful than before, specifically on the internet, because most people are actually a little too shy of showing their true self in public. Might I add, very comfortable with commenting awful things to others. I'm not saying the internet was rainbows and sparkles before, but if you were to look at the comments of random posts, you'll see most of them being nice and only a view of bullying. Nowadays, the percentage of bullying is much higher. It definitely is the bravery from being behind a screen. Long-running topics like racism, misogyny, and any insensitive jokes regarding somebody's personal life are alarmingly normalized, and I noticed that happened ever since the Gen Alphas learned how to use the internet. I'm not blaming all the Gen Alphas, that's just what I've noticed. Every single TikTok's comment section is just bullying and really stupid shit. What's worse is that people are gonna think it's normal, so they add it to their shit personality. They say really disrespectful things and call it a joke or a satire when it's not even fucking funny. You're not a comedian, bro. Every time somebody brings up shitty people on the internet, there's always gonna be idiots who will say, first time on the internet? Seems like it's your first day on earth with your lack of emotional intelligence. Now, why is that? Let me just mention the internet again. It's full of information that we consume no matter how good or bad it is, not to mention the horrible influencers you find on social media. And the people who we should blame the most, the parents. Parents have gotten so fucking lazy raising a child, and that's because they're also addicted to the internet. They just give their children an iPad because it shuts them up the fastest, which causes them to learn how to use a gadget first before reading. I remember seeing this person on TikTok making fun of their younger sibling by sending messages because they couldn't read yet. The funny part was the younger sibling sending voicemails, telling the older sibling to send voicemails instead of text. I have nothing against those people, I just thought it was weird that the younger sibling didn't know how to read yet, but was completely capable of handling a gadget. I know people are gonna say, you don't know what it's like to be a parent. Do you have any idea how difficult it is? I do. That's why I don't have any, while knowing I should always use condoms if I'm ever going to have a fun time with somebody. I know you can afford a flight to a nice vacation, so it wouldn't hurt to buy a pack of condoms. Moving on to being an entitled piece of shit is taught, for example, racism, prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism by an individual, community, or institution against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group, typically the one that is a minority or marginalized. Kids don't have a natural instinct to hate people who look different from them. It's from the people they grew up with and racist people that they watch on their phones. For example, saying the N-word like it's the funniest shit in the world. If you still don't know, the N-word is a racist and offensive slur. It carries a deeply violent history of slavery and oppression against black people. To anyone who still doesn't understand, non-black equals to big no, okay? Dylan, no stay. Obviously, other races also experience racism. It exists all over the world because, believe it or not, there are so many different people living here on Earth. Yeah, isn't it crazy that there are other countries aside from the US, Japan, France, China, and the UK? I'm Asian, so I'm gonna talk about what we have, colorism, prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. Asia is a huge continent with a lot of countries and with the same race, yet they still find a way to be racist to each other. I live in a country near the equator, meaning a lot of people have dark skin while there are also a lot of people who have fair skin, depending on their ancestors and the amount of time they spend indoors and outdoors. People there definitely made us think that people have whiter skin were better in terms of looks and social status. I have a sibling whose skin is darker than mine, and relatives would say we're like cookies and cream together. I remember when I was young, I didn't want to sleep next to them because I didn't want my skin to get dark, as if the color of someone's skin is contagious. That was very wrong of me, but I didn't know that because that's what people were teaching me. Definitely not my parents, gladly. They never discriminated somebody based on their skin tone in front of me. I also remember when people find out we're siblings, they get really confused as to why we don't have the same skin color. It's almost like they're complaining. How come your sibling is dark skinned and you're white? We were born this way. I don't know what to tell you. I also remember we had a neighbor who was such a white supremacist. They were a family of 4, the mother, son, and 2 daughters who all have fair skin, and they openly told us they don't like people who have dark skin. We got to play in their house one time, except one of us. Luckily, that friend wasn't allowed to go out that day, so thankfully she didn't get discriminated against by them to her face. Me and my friends knew they were not good people for that, but since this was many years ago, it didn't get to our head how absolutely awful they were. Since I've mentioned I'm on the lighter side of skin tones, I can't really speak up much about the discrimination dark-skinned people face in my country. But I'd say a lot of people now are accepting their natural dark skin. I'm not saying colorism is now fixed in my country. It still exists. And I'll never know the struggles they had to face growing up surrounded by people who would constantly call them names regarding the color of their skin. Quick editor's note, I finished this script early Feb, and yes, I am aware of the South Korea versus siblings thing on Twitter. And siblings rise up. Speaking of bullying, like I said earlier, people are so comfortable saying whatever they want, even if it hurts other people's feelings. It's true you're allowed to say whatever you want, but should you? If you think so, then you're self-centered. Most of your opinions are not as important as you think. Ever heard of the saying, if you don't have something nice to say, then don't say anything at all? It doesn't matter if whatever you say is true. The problem is you being tactless. You're trying to seem outspoken, but you're really not. Bullying is not usually taught by parents, from what I know. Nowadays, it's when they watch somebody on the internet who would constantly joke about a lot of problematic things where the viewers think it's the funniest shit in the world. Naturally, a lot of younger people will absorb it and then it becomes part of their personality, especially when they idolize that influencer. People usually bully someone based on their looks, and it's so frustrating because that is literally the oldest unspoken rule. Don't judge a book by its cover. Is that not familiar? That's not some urban legend or some shit. It means one should not judge the worth or value of something or someone by their outward appearance alone. There are so many fucking movies and TV shows and cartoons where its lesson at the end is that saying, yet people are not able to comprehend it. I think what stops people from speaking up about how hurtful people's words are is when others would defend their bullying by saying, it's not that deep, you're being sensitive, it was just a joke, you're being a snowflake, it's just my opinion. Such a non-issue, and the world kept spinning. Is that you being nonchalant, you stupid bitch? Let's bring assumptions into this because that's what people do all the time in order to share their very important opinions. You are thinking that's why you're able to assume, but are you correct?
A lot of percent.
No, you do not know everything, so keep your mouth shut. Also, always assuming the worst of people is a you problem, you're the problem. If somebody said they prefer something, there's always people who will get mad and ask, oh, so you hate this? I could list 100 examples of this dumb shit because it is very common. But to the point where I would just keep quiet because I don't want to argue with someone like that. Like, I just don't want to deal with that stupid shit. It's like reading some comments who want me to over-explain because they assume something bad, and if left unresponded, others will think it's true. Sorry about that. Let me just write a script about my whole life and make my videos 3 hours long for your sake. Anyway, knowing the full context about something you saw or read or heard is very important. People can be very quick to judge and make up random shit, usually something bad because they don't know the whole thing. It's almost like I'm defining assumptions again. They miss the whole point but still pretend to know everything. You're on your phone or something, capable of reading and already doom scrolling, but you won't spare a little time to read the full context or hear it out. That's literally how rumors start. So please, make sure you know everything before you say something. Misogyny, yes, very funny joke. The classic, go back to the kitchen and make me a sandwich. Calling women females? Wrap it up. Any repeated boring jokes and insults, really. It's like listed in some Reddit post and memorized by men and then passed down to the others. Also taught taught by mostly parents, and then the same thing where they absorb everything and they see on the internet that will completely shape their whole personality. It is very difficult not to do that considering our lives will always be connected to the internet now. A lot of kids nowadays lack parental supervision regarding the internet and decent parents who are actually willing to teach them what's right and wrong. A little random, but I keep seeing men share something where the girl cuddles a guy or the girl sits on the guy's lap to make out, and the caption will always be like, "This would instantly cure me. You're an awful person and you want that?" It's like wishing for a miracle to happen. What's the difference between misogyny and misandry? Misogyny leads to a woman's death, while misandry leads to hurt feelings, according to a Reddit comment I found while I was researching. I don't want to keep going because there's so much to say, so I'll stop here. In short, men should stop crying and throwing tantrums. There's literally a whole song, "Man Cha." I better not see an essay from a man saying bullshit when they really just felt attacked. So my whole point is, be nice or shut the fuck up. Courtesy is free. Learn what is right and wrong. Use your brain. It's in there, I swear. Improve your reading comprehension. Have some empathy and respect. Stop being shallow. It's really not that hard. So how are you? I feel great. I finally got to let out things that have been in my mind for a long time. I sure hope you learned something from me. I just want you to think. Anyway, thank you. Please take care of yourselves and put that down.